In outdoor cooking, sometimes the only thermometer that makes sense is wireless. But what good is a wireless thermometer if it can't perform the way you actually want to use it? Today we're putting 8 wireless thermometers to the test to see which is the best wireless thermometer for you. I'm David Gafford, and I test more than 70 different outdoor cooking appliances and tools each year to help you make educated buying decisions. There have been several new models of wireless thermometers to hit the market in the last few months, so this seemed like the perfect time to take a closer look at them side by side. We're going to be looking at user experience, ambient temperature accuracy, real-world range tests, and whether the probes can survive high heat searing and even deep frying. This is going to be fun. First, let's start by taking a look at the Contenders. First up is the Chef IQ Sense. You can get this in a 1, 2, or 3 probe configuration. The 3 probe that we have here is $179.99. There are 3 internal sensors in the probe. There is 1 attached ambient sensor, and the probe diameter is 4.8 millimeters. This is the Chef's Temp Pro Temp Plus. You can get a single probe for $139, and you can get up to 3 probes for $249. There are 2 sensors on the probe, 1 sensor internal and 1 sensor external for ambient. There are 2 probe sizes, one that's slightly smaller than the standard, and we're looking at a probe diameter of a little less than 6. We're getting 5.8 millimeters. The diameter of the short probe is 5.4 millimeters. This is the Combustion predictive thermometer with Wi-Fi booster and the Wi-Fi display. You can get this combo for $279. The Combustion has 8 different sensors, 1 measuring ambient external temperature and the other 7 dispersed among the metal portion of the probe to give you various degrees of internal temperature. The probe diameter on the Combustion, we are getting 4.7 millimeters. This is the Fireboard Pulse. You can get one of these for $149. The Pulse has 1 sensor in the tip and 1 sensor here in the ceramic external for the ambient temperature. The wide diameter on the Fireboard is about 5.6 millimeters, and the narrow diameter is about 4.8 millimeters. This is the Meter Pro. You can get one of these for $129. There are 5 internal sensors in the probe and 1 ambient sensor, and the diameter on the probe is 4.9 millimeters. This is the MeatStick 4X. You can find one of these for $125. There are 3 internal sensors and 1 ambient sensor. Probe diameter, we are getting 5.8 millimeters. This is the ThermoPro Temp Spike Plus. You can get one of these for $129.99. There is 1 internal sensor and 1 attached ambient sensor. And for a diameter, I am reading 5.2 millimeters. This is the Thermoworks RFX Wireless Starter Kit. You can buy the kit for $168. There are 4 external sensors on the probe, and the external ambient temperature is handled with a wired thermometer. For the diameter on the probe, we are getting right around 5.3 millimeters. As always, we've got links to all of these thermometers in the description below. We're going to start with the Chef IQ. You can see we have the 3 probe unit here. There it is in the app. We have our chicken breast ready to go. And what we're going to do is go ahead and start by putting the probe in the chicken breast. I'm going to grab probe number 1, and I'm going to stick this into the breast, and I want to measure right here. So I could come in from this side. It's going to measure not quite the thickest part. I think I'm going to come in this way so I can get a measurement in the thickest part. So if you look, there are some little notches here on this. I'm going to go ahead and try to insert this all the way, but I think that the minimum insertion depth is right around right there. But let's see if we can go ahead and get this dude in all the way into our breast. There we go. We're going to be seasoning all of the breasts with our feathered formula rub, and this is the one that we have designed, that we own here at the Barbecue Lab. I cannot wait for you to try it. If you haven't yet joined the Kickstarter, make sure you go check out the link here on the screen, as well as in the description below. You can join the Kickstarter to be a part of bringing these rubs to life. But we're going to season all of the breasts today with our feathered formula rub, and they are going to be delicious. Looking gorgeous. We're going to go ahead and get this on the grill. We're going to go ahead and put it on the top rack here and let it go. All right, let's set up our cook. Probe 1, hit start, and I want to go ahead and do chicken, and I am doing a boneless breast, and I am doing it on the smoker It's giving me instructions, telling me what I want to look for, and I'm just going to hit Start Cook. An interesting thing about the Chef IQ is that there is a speaker in the base unit that talks to you while you're cooking. An interesting thing on this app is that you have a current temperature, you have this red, which is your final temperature, then the yellow is your remove from heat temperature. And if you press that, it says that we're going to remove this from the heat at 160, which is what I was really hoping for, because I don't want to take the breast all the way to 165 on the smoker, because I know carryover is going to take it that last 5 degrees or so. So I do like that. Here we are midway through the cook, and it says we have 31 minutes left in our cook, which means that this has a predictive analysis built into the app. I know people are asking about that all the time, so Chef IQ does have that feature. I just got a notification that said our food is about ready to come off, so here we are ready. Let's see what the final notification says. All right, we are getting a notification that just said, please remove your food from the heat. Here's what it looks like. So we are going to do exactly that. While our chicken is resting, let's talk a little bit about this. Now, if you look here and you scroll down, you can change the view between the standard view that we have, which is this, or you can get a graphical view here as well. Now you can notice if I move this over, it shows that our cook time was 1 hour and 22 minutes. And 1 hour and 22 minutes is a long ways away from the initial 30 or 31 minutes that this predicted. So that's something to note, is that the prediction does change over time, but initially it was not very accurate for us. Next up is the Chef's Temp probes, and we're going to go ahead and take the green probe, stick it in our chicken breast. If you see right here this black line, that is the minimum insertion point. So I've got a plan for it to go in about right there, or yeah, that'll work. I'll go in from the end on this one. We have the feathered formula on, and it's time to put this one on the grill. All right, to set up this cook, let's go ahead and choose this. Set up cook, we are going for poultry. We have chicken, we are going for breast, and 165 is what we want to do. So we're going to go ahead and hit start cook. With the Chef's Temp, it's telling me that we have hit 160 degrees internal. It's not giving me an estimated time, so it looks like the estimated time has somehow stopped working in the process. But I know my target is 165. I have 160 as the current temp, which means I need to pull this off even though the app is not telling me to. So that's what my experience was so far with the Chef's Temp. Here's what I can do with the app on the Chef's Temp. I thought maybe I could go ahead and zoom in and see more of this graphical data here. I really can't. I can just go to the next thermometer over here. But if I hit on the target, nothing. If I hit on ambient, nothing. If I hit on target internal or ambient, nothing there. The only thing I can really do is hit this. Shows me my elapsed time. As I click the notification bell at the bottom, I notice that we did not select time before cook ends, which would have notified us with the predictive analysis. And then as well as if the ambient temperature rises above or the internal temperature rises above, this would have told me that I could have set this and said if the internal temperature rises above 160, I could have added that alert, and that would have alerted me if we would have gotten there. And there's the alert. So I would have had to have set that up manually as opposed to automatically, which I see with some other probes. Next up is our combustion thermometer. We'll go ahead and pull this one out. And you can see here that we have, it's close by, and we are ready to go ahead and get this one rolling. So I'm going to go ahead and look, and if you see here the 3 little lines, that's going to tell us our insertion point for this one. That's the minimum insertion point, but I'm going to go ahead and give it a little bit more than that. And let's see here, as we look at that, yeah, there's plenty of opportunity there for it to get in. Combustion is ready to go. Onto the grill, and let's see how we do. Here's the combustion thermometer, and we're going to start by, it says, do you want to safeguard this cook? We'll hit add, and it says, hey, do you want to follow USDA recommendations? So we can turn that on. It says, are you cooking poultry? We'll say yes. We can hit apply, and it says, all right, do that. So in order to set up our cook, we need to hit predict, and we want to get to 165. And we'll say begin prediction. And it says here we are cooking to 165, and we'll check back in here in a minute. All right, here at the Combustion, it says we're at 162. We've got 162 on the display as well. This did not give me a warning letting me know that the carryover was going to happen, so we need to look a little deeper and figure that out, but it's time for this to come off. So it shows we've hit 165 internal, but yet we haven't gotten a notification letting us know. So obviously there's something awry here. I went ahead and checked to see what was going on with our notifications and sounds, and they are all set to on, so that's not it. We're set to 165, we've hit 165. The question is, why haven't we gotten an alarm? While we're in here, you can see here are the 8 different places where it's measuring temperature. You can see 165 is at the core, and then you have these others that are inside. Then in these other probes, you can tell as it goes from 159 to 146, 124, 95. We're talking about surface temperatures here, and we have it outside of the grill at the moment, so it's interesting. You can see all 8 thermometers if you put it in advanced mode. We did get a notification on the external display, so we'll go ahead and hit stop on that one. Next, we have the Fireboard pulse. If you look, the minimum insertion line is very clear to see right here, just about 2/3 of the way, or a little over half of the way up here. We'll go ahead and stick this in our breast. We have the Fireboard chicken breast ready to go on. There we are, main grate level, it's ready to go. You can see here on the Fireboard app that we have reached our desired temperature. You can see that we had an alert set for 160, and we got an alert at 160. It's now 163. This is what happens when you run 8 probes at once, but we're a little behind. Anyway, here we are. Time to take this one off. We are done. Looking back at the Fireboard cook, this is the graph that we can see. We have the ambient temperature and we have the thermometer internal temperature. One of the things I like about this app is that if you use 2 fingers, you can zoom in and you can scroll and you can see all different types of data on here. If I wanted to see what the ambient was, just put my finger up there. It'll show me. If I want to see what the temperature was down in the internal, it'll show me there. But a lot of great things you can do with the app when you're playing with this. So I do like the Fireboard app quite a lot. Now we have the MeatStick, and you can see the minimum insertion line here. I'm just going to insert the probe into this breast and get it seasoned up to put on the grill. And now the MeatStick chicken breast goes on to the Weber Searwood. To get things started, I just have to tap Setup Cook, select Poultry, Chicken Breast, and we're cooking this on a smoker. The app has suggested a finish temp of 167 degrees, but I disagree. I'm going to adjust it back to 160 degrees and let the carryover temperature get us to 165. It gives me this warning that my device volume might be too low, so I'll go ahead and increase that and hit OK. Okay, now I'm seeing that Meter does give me a warning when I need to pull the chicken off before my target temperature. So I'm going to go ahead and go back in and adjust this back up to 165, knowing that Meter will give me that 5-degree warning. Last thing is I'll check my notification settings and confirm that I have 2 active alerts set up. Meter will notify me when it has an estimate ready for when the cook will be over, as well as that 5 minutes before the cook ends, that will allow me to pull the breast off around 160 degrees. I just got my first alert that an estimate is ready for my cook. The breast has been on the smoker for about 10 minutes now, and Meter has predicted that it will be ready in 30 more minutes. It's now been 40 minutes since my estimate notification, and now Meter is telling me that my cook is nearly done, so I'm going to go ahead and take this breast off the heat to let it rest. When I click on this timestamp in the middle here, it will pull up the total elapsed time of the cook, and I can see that this breast took 53 minutes to reach my target temperature. When I click on the graph icon, I can see both the internal meat temperature as well as the ambient temperature. When I interact with the graph, I can check temperatures anywhere along the cook. It's time for the MeatStick 4X, and you can see along the probe here that there is no visual marking on how far to put this in the meat, so we're just going to go all the way up to the ambient portion of the probe. We've got it seasoned up, and the MeatStick 4X is on the smoker. To set up our cook, I'm choosing grill, poultry, chicken breast. It's set to a USDA safe 165-degree finish temperature, and I can hit start cooking. On the app screen, I can see that there's a tag set for 160 degrees as our warning that we're getting close, and the reporting on the probe shows us the information from each of the 4 sensors. I have 54, 54, and 61 for the internal probes and 194 for the external probe, with it just now going on the smoker. Okay, just got notified that the early warning temperature has been reached. So here we are, 161. Time to go ahead and pull this off. Here within the app, we can see what it's reading. 162 in the middle, 165, and then 185, 306. You can see right here, A, B, and S have corresponding lines down here, and you can be able to watch those as they climb, as well as the ambient and where that shook out. And last but not least, we have the RFX meat. We are set up reading about 64 degrees air temperature right now. We have our insertion point on the probe right here. We want to get all that all the way into the meat. So let's do that. So there you have it. Temperature is going down. Let's get this seasoned and on the pit. All right, the RFX meat is on the grill. Now we want to go ahead and set the air temp probe. Now remember, this is a wired probe on the Thermoworks product, so we'll take this, and I'm going to set this right here on grate level, right in the middle, and that will be air temp. The air temp probe is connected to the gateway, and so that is how we keep tabs on our air temperature. Here in the Thermoworks app, we have two things to set up. We have our green thermometer, which is what we're tracking the internal temperature of our chicken breast. If we look, we have a high alarm set to 160, which is exactly where I want to know, and a low alarm of 32 because it's never going to get that low. I just don't even need this on, so I'll go ahead and turn that off, and I'll hit save. Then we're saved on that one. Here on the gateway, we also need to set that up, and what I'm going to do is I want to make sure that I have an air high temperature alarm, and let's say if our grill really gets out of control at, say, 500 degrees, I want to know about that. And so I could also set a low temp alarm, not really concerned about that, but to turn it on, you have to hit this button. Now you'll see I have a high temperature alarm of 500, and it will let me know if I end up in that arena. Just got our high alarm alert here. You can see where we are running right over that 160 mark, 162. So it's time to pull this off, but I like that I got an alarm right where I wanted it on the Thermoworks app. Some things of note on the app, we already went through how you set these things up, but if you go ahead and you click here on the graph, it will show you the graph. This right here is our probe that was internal inside the chicken. You can see our graph all the way up. If you click on here at any point, you can kind of see where your data is all the way up and down, what time that data happened. Then if you go ahead and go back, you can look here at your devices, go to the gateway, and the gateway you also have your graphical data of how the pellet grill performed, and you can see grate level temperature on that. So I really like the Thermoworks app. I think there's some really, really good things that going on in here, besides all of the options that you have within the app, where you can choose ring color, you can choose your minimum maximum. There's some advanced settings down here that we don't play with all that often, but this is where you would have trim value and things like that. But I do like this app quite a bit. All right, I've got the temp spike here. We're gonna go ahead and put it in at the minimum insertion line, which you can kind of see is very close to this black handle. We'll go ahead and put this in the end, and we'll get this seasoned up and on the pit. Okay, temp spike chicken on the grill. We want to go ahead and set our cook. We don't want a pork butt this time. We are looking for poultry, and it says 165. That works for me. It says go ahead and make sure you put it in deep enough. That is set. And 165, there we go. So we are set up on the temp spike. Right now you can see the alarm is off. I'm going to turn the alarm on, and the same thing with vibration. We'll turn that on. It'll keep us posted on what our plan is. All right, so here we are with the temp spike. We just got the notification to go ahead and pull off at 165 here. So we just got the notification at 165, so it did not give us a buffer to pull off at 160, kind of like what we were hoping for the rest. So we're gonna go ahead and take this off the pit, let it rest, but I wish I would have gotten a little bit earlier of an alarm on this one. The alarm that we did get was that, hey, the temp spike has been disconnected because we walked inside. So not my favorite alarm, but we did get an alarm. By the way, if you're getting value out of this video, hit the like button and subscribe if you want to see more videos just like this in the future. It's time to do a sear test on these. We're gonna go ahead and take these probes, put them in a strip loin that we bought over at Gordon's. We went ahead and cut this up into about 1 inch thick steaks, but we're gonna stick these probes in, put them on the gas grill set to high, and see if they all survive. Will they? I have no idea. Let's find out together. We're just going to take the probe, make sure we get into the minimum insertion line for each of these. There we go. And then when it comes to seasoning, we're going to use our essential equation. If you haven't seen this yet, it's on a Kickstarter right now. You can get a bottle of this if you want to join our Kickstarter. It's a great seasoning. We love it for steaks. Here's what it looks like. It's worth noting that we are shooting for 120 as the point where we pull these off because these are relatively thin steaks. I'm afraid they're going to carry over too far. And on the Chef IQ app, it won't let us go lower than 125. It's only letting us select rare, so that's worth noting on this unit. Looks like the temp spike will also only let us go to 125. We've had the grill turned up to high. It was reading 700 degrees on the hood thermometer. Went ahead and turned it down to medium high. It's currently reading about 650. So for all of those thermometers who have given their service to this point, we thank them. And for those who are about to give the ultimate sacrifice, we salute you. So Chef IQ just alerted us that we have a warning temp of 115 if we want to pull it off for 120. But the thing is that we don't want to pull it off there. We want to pull it off at 120. So that gave us an alert. Same for meter. Meter's telling us the same deal. Remove it from heat if you want to stop at 120. But 120 is where we want to stop. So we got a warning on that one, which is nice. Same thing with the Chef IQ. All right, it's time for round two. What we learned in round one is having one phone with 4 different apps on it is crazy, but that doesn't mean we're gonna change the way we're doing this. So we're gonna go ahead and go for round two, 4 more steaks. Let's hit it. Temp spike is telling us we have an ambient temperature alert that we've exceeded that, so that's worth noting. All right, here's some final thoughts on how the high heat sear test went. All 8 probes survived this test. However, the MeatStick and the temp spike didn't like the ambient temperatures we were seeing and let us know with warning alerts from their apps. As far as we can tell, no permanent damage has been done yet. They both still seem to be working. Now, the other 6 probes had no trouble with the high ambient temperature. In just a second, I'm going to test the accuracy of the ambient temperature readings on these thermometers, but first I want to pass a question off to you. Tell me in the comments below, what's the most important deciding factor for you when it comes to choosing a wireless probe? What's your non-negotiable? The I won't buy it unless it does X. Let's keep the conversation going down in the comments. Did I say we were testing 8 wireless thermometers? I mean, what's one more between friends? This Typhur Sync Gold just arrived in the mail today, so we'll go ahead and throw that into the remaining test. This 2-probe set you see here retails for $229, and each probe has 5 internal and 1 ambient sensors. The probe measures 5.3 millimeters. When it comes to wireless temperature probes, it's well documented that the ambient sensor is not usually that accurate. When we did our pork butt overnight cook, we took all of the data from each of these probes and put it in an Excel spreadsheet so you can see which one is accurate and when. So let's take a look over here at this sheet to show you what we found. Here's our spreadsheet, and we'll tell you in a little bit how you can get your own copy of this in a downloadable. But for now, let me go ahead and walk you through. If you look up here on the upper left, you can see that we put a thermometer on the main grate on the left side We put a thermometer on the main grate on the right side, and we took those data points over an 11-hour period and averaged them together to give us our grate level temperature to compare against. So this right here is our grate level temperature, and then down here you can see each of the ambient probes and the data that we have from each one. As you might expect, the wired probe from the RFX meat was the closest for the first 6 hours of the cook. When you look down at the ambient wireless probes, you can see that we are off by 35, 42, 52, 37, all different types of degrees. None of them are within 10 degrees for the first hour. The same thing here in the second hour, none of them are within 10 degrees. The third hour, none of them are within 10 degrees. It's the fourth hour where we start seeing these actually catch up to the wired probe in accuracy. The RFX meat has 7 of the most accurate hours reported out of the 11, followed by the MeatStick with 2, the Chef IQ with 1, and the Fireboard Pulse with 1 as well. You might notice here that the temp spike actually disconnected for about 6 hours in the middle of our cook. So we just put disconnected and have X's next to that since we don't have any data from it. The Typhur was not here in time for that test, so there's no data on that one. And the Meter 2 Pro did die in the 11th hour, so we don't have any data for that last point. It's time for a range test on all of these probes, and our first test is going to be, can it read with the lid down in a grill? We have our Weber Sear wood here. All of the probes are on the grate. We're going to go ahead and take the lid, put it down, and all of our receivers are going to be right here on the shelf right next to the grill. We're going to monitor and make sure all of them can read at this distance. Then we're going to increase the complexity and the distance. Our 5-minute timer has gone off, so we are going to go ahead and check with each one and see if we still have a connection. The temp spike is good, Chef IQ is good, Typhur is good, RFX is good, Chef's temp is good, Meter's good, Combustion is good, the MeatStick is good. So that gives us 1 foot away from the grill on the side shelf. Let's now move it to this chair, which is 6 feet away, and run the same 5-minute timing test. Okay, we are at 5 minutes. Let's go ahead and turn that timer off. And we have 2 disconnections. The first one is the MeatStick, and it's telling us that we need to be equal to or less than 6 feet to be able to be read. We are right at 6 feet, so we were testing the limit, and it looks like this one disconnected for us. The other one is the ThermoPro. With the temp spike, we also received a disconnection, but that is noted that we need to keep our stuff right next to the grill. So both the temp spike and the MeatStick at the 6-foot range met their match. For the next level of testing, we're gonna go ahead and take all of these receivers inside the house and see if we can go in the house and if it affects our reception level at all. You can see the grill right outside the window. Here is our tray of thermometer accoutrements. We're gonna go ahead and start our 5-minute timer and see who is still connected. Here we are at 5 minutes for the test inside, and let's see what we've got. Fireboard going strong. The temp spike did disconnect for a second, but we are back in business. The MeatStick is telling us the MeatStick is off again, so we're having problems keeping that one connected. Combustion is still connected. The Chef's temp is disconnected. We just got that alert. The meter, still connected. Thermoworks, still connected. The Typhur is still connected. And Chef IQ is still connected. For our next test, we are here on the front porch. We are a whole house away from the grill. So our entire house is between here and where the grill is sitting. So we're gonna see if any of these can actually receive the signal all the way through the house. We're gonna give it a 5-minute timer, and let's find out. All right, there was our timer. As we look through all of these, we are disconnected on the ThermoPro. We are disconnected on the Chef IQ. We are disconnected on the Typhur. We are disconnected on the meter. The Thermoworks is still connected. So here we are a whole house away, and the Thermoworks is still connected. We lost connection on the Combustion at this level. We still have connection for the Fireboard in the front of the house as well. So the front of the house test has taken out everybody except for Thermoworks and Fireboard. So with those 2 brands still remaining at this distance, we find that they're the ones that are using the low frequency radio waves. Now, Typhur is as well, but at this distance, it didn't still work for us. Now, there's a lot of traffic going on in here. Multiple walls, multiple windows, all kinds of things going on between the grill and the front of the house. But the Typhur didn't make it all the way through the house. Thermoworks and Fireboard did. We just finished the front porch test, and you might be saying, why are you back here at the grill? Well, that's because we're gonna try something a little bit different. We have a Dutch oven here. This is a cast iron Dutch oven, no enamel on it. I wanna see if we put all of the probes in a Dutch oven, if we can still receive the signal. So let's take these, stick them in the Dutch oven, stick the lid on the Dutch oven, close the grill lid. Let's see if all of them can still read that after 5 minutes. We lost 2 thermometers after 5 minutes on the Dutch oven test. The temp spike and the MeatStick did not make it on this test. So we're gonna go ahead and test the remaining ones at the 6-foot mark as well, leaving all of the probes in the Dutch oven. After 5 minutes, we still have Typhur, we still have Fireboard, and we still have Thermoworks with us. We've lost the temp spike, we've lost the MeatStick, we've lost Chef IQ, the meter, but we still do have Combustion as well. So that means we have 4 that have passed the cast iron test at the 6-foot mark. For the last range test, we have put the potato full of all the probes on the grill. We're gonna go ahead and close the grill. We put all of the receivers here next to the grill, and we're going to leave. We're going to leave the house. We're gonna test which ones connect to Wi-Fi, and can we still receive them a couple miles away. All right, here we are, about a mile away, and we lost 3 probes. We have the MeatStick, the meter, and the temp spike, no longer reporting, but the others all connected to Wi-Fi. In just a second, we're going to test all of these probes in a deep fryer and see which ones survive. But first, I want to let you know that there's a lot more information available than what we can fit in this one video. We've compiled all of our hours of research into an easy to read and compare chart. If you think that might be helpful for you, we'll leave a link down in the description below where you can download that PDF for free. A lot of people have been asking, can I deep fry with these wireless probes? So we're gonna put it to the test. 350 degree oil. We have taken all of our probes and put them in a potato, and we're gonna try them 2 at a time. The Combustion and the RFX. At the end of our 4-minute test, we have Combustion telling us everything's fine, and Thermoworks also reading perfectly. They both pass the deep fry test. Round 2, meter 2 and the MeatStick. We are at the 4-minute mark, and we have the MeatStick, which has handled it just fine, and the meter also giving us readings as well. So MeatStick and the meter both pass the deep fry test. Next, we have the temp spike and the Typhur. We have hit our 4-minute mark, and both the temp spike and the Typhur have come out okay on the deep fry test. Our final 2 in the deep fry test are the Fireboard and the Chef IQ. Let's get those down. You'll notice that the Chef's temp is missing from our test. That's because it is only rated an IP55, which means it is not designed for deep frying. Here we are with the Fireboard and the Chef IQ, finished with the deep fryer test, and they both work great. So how do you wrap up a test as massive as this? Allow me a few final thoughts about this test as I wrap my mind around everything we've done in the past few weeks here. The Pulse and the RFX Meat were standouts in this test, and the Combustion was a close runner-up. The only place Combustion failed was through the entirety of the house range test, but it performed fine for everything else. Now, for those of you who are trying to decide between the Fireboard Pulse and the Thermoworks RFX Meat, how do you feel about a wired external ambient probe? Personally, the external ambient probe has bothered me 0%. But I know by reading the comments that some of you are very passionate about this topic. Depending on where you fall with the ambient temperature sensor being a part of the wireless system will largely make the decision for you. Now, that being said, the Pulse ambient sensor will take a while to be accurate because of how much ceramic is in the end of the probe. That ceramic won't heat up instantly, so be prepared for less accurate readings at the beginning of a cook. If you're thinking about getting multiple probes, the RFX system is certainly the more economical choice because you can add additional probes for $60 less for each probe. One huge factor would also be if you're already in the Fireboard infrastructure. The thing about the Pulse is that if the probe is all you have, you're limited to only Bluetooth range. The real benefits of this probe come into play when they connect to other Fireboard products like the Fireboard 2 Drive, the Spark Instant Read, or any smoker with a Fireboard controller. If you already have one of those Fireboard products, it makes a ton of sense to go with the Pulse. Now, for example, my Lone Star Grill's pellet cabinet uses a Fireboard controller. Just look at this mess of probes that I have going on here for this turkey cook. I needed way more than 6 probes for this cook, but wires were getting caught in the door handle, on shelves when I went to pull them out. It was just a mess. Since this grill is already Fireboard, it makes sense that I'll use Pulse wireless probes with it. I just need to order another 8 to 12 probes for large catering style cooks to make things easier. Now, if you're looking for a more budget probe for under $100, I don't think you could go wrong with the Chef IQ. You can get a single probe for under $100, and it's the value leader for me. So what do you think? What didn't we test, or what did we get wrong? Let us know in the comments below, and let's talk wireless thermometers. Now, if you haven't already, check out our new seasoning blends and consider backing us on Kickstarter. We have new stretch goals like our hot chicken rub called the Feathered Formula for our backers. So check that out if you'd like to support our channel and all of the testing that we do here. If you want all of the data from our wireless thermometer testing, we put our charts, graphs, and more in a downloadable PDF that you can grab for free. Just scan the code here on the screen or click the link in the description below, and we'll send you a copy of all of our data and results from this test. I'm David from the Barbecue Lab. Behind the camera is my smoking hot wife, Melissa. Thanks for watching, and we will see you on the next one.